Standard Gains Podcast, episode 25, take 1.
Here we go. And as of right now, we got an insane amount of support, guys.
Today, we're going to be looking at my holiday rental. I bought a holiday rental last year, and was it worth it? What kind of return on investment am I getting? And do we recommend buying things like that?
Should you buy something like that for, investment or maybe just for fun or both? Is it a good choice to buy? Let's find out. So why did you buy a holiday rental?
Well, it was purely an investment. So I'm not even allowed to go to my holiday rental. That's
Not
a
at
choice
all.
I made. No, not at all. I'm allowed to visit the park, but I signed a contract for the next 10 years. I'm not allowed to step inside my holiday rental. It's only being rented out. And that is the way to get the best return. So for me, it is purely as an investment. Of course, there's a lot of holiday rentals you can buy where you can also go yourself, like to go on a chill holiday. But for me, it's like a 20-minute drive from my house. There's no real reason to go there anyway, right? So I bought it as an investment just because as an entrepreneur, you don't really build up a pension or anything. So I think you should find ways to start generating income also after you stop working on your business. And I think real estate is the way to go for that.
Exactly. So for this example, it would be the sort of retirement that you're working to, or the pension that you're working to. It would be the worth of the entire asset that you have, the entire building or holiday rental you got right now, which will be an investment of an X amount of money, and then also the worth the worth increases obviously over time, hopefully, or something has to happen. But that would also be part of your pension that you're building up, and the rent or the rent that you're getting from the holiday rental, and that total would be, if we're going into the numbers right now, it would in total in years be a decent pension on itself.
Yeah, that is the plan, and I got pretty lucky with this one. So I bought it in December 2020. Of course, a lot of things were still happening in the world at that time. And one of the things that happened is at some point in 2020, the park was closed, which meant because of COVID, there were no tourists, wasn't even allowed to go to a holiday rental in our own country. So there were a lot of people who couldn't afford their mortgage anymore. They bought the house. There's quite high cost every single month, and we'll go into that as well. So they couldn't afford it anymore, so they had to sell. So they were actually selling it at a major discount, which is why for me, this was a no-brainer. As I said, I'm not allowed to go there, but to tell you the truth, I've never even been inside before purchasing it. And I would never, ever recommend anyone to buy a piece of real estate without going inside to actually know what you're buying.
I just want to quickly go into that. Like you can't go inside, or you can't go inside. No. You've never been inside. Yeah. To me, like Can you rent your own place, or is that not allowed? Did you sign a contract that you're not even allowed to rent your own place?
I think I'm allowed to rent it, but there's 3 options you can choose from. The one is I just want to use it myself, and if I want to rent it out, I'll do it myself. The other one is I want to be allowed to be inside for 6 weeks a year. And then of course those weeks you do not get any rent. And the other option is get full rent. I don't want to manage it. Someone else manages it, and I'm just not allowed in.
And that was the most like high return investment, low effort way to do this. Yeah. All right, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the reason why, maybe to clarify, so I did look into its sort of similar property in the same park before. Didn't buy that one. And then I have a real estate agent that I really trust, and I've known him for a long time. And he just told me, buy this one. It is good. We don't have time to check it. Buy it today. And I bought it that day.
Okay. That was when?
December 2020.
December 2020. So you also wanted to buy it in 2020? So
definitely. So there was a change in law in Holland starting in 2021. Because one of the issues that they see is a lot of investors are buying up all of the real estate. And that makes it very difficult for people who don't have a house to buy something, and the house prices keeps rising. So they introduced a new law, which started January 1st, 2021, to make it more difficult to buy second houses. And for me, that would mean I would have to pay 6% more. So that's a
decent amount.
It would be 7,000-8,000 euros.
Yeah, okay, that's a good reason to actually get some speed behind it, and that would have sort of. It's so interesting to hear that you can't even sort of step inside, or you've never stepped inside. So no, that's most of the time probably not the way to buy your holiday rental. And if you want to also reap the benefits of going there yourself, you could probably get yourself a holiday rental where you're actually allowed to go in. But this way, you're really building a nice.
Yeah, for me, it is 100% an investment, and I know my brother's actually looking at buying something in the same park right now, but he has kids, and he said it's not a nice park to go to with your kids, right? It is a park mainly for a bit elderly people, which is great because they don't really screw up your house as well.
Yeah.
It's next to something called the Keukenhof, which is really famous in Holland. It is flower bulbs, flower fields. So that's mainly a bit older people, mainly from Germany going there.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe also like the foreign people, especially Germans. I think
Especially
they like
Germans,
that a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Normally 95% of this park is filled with German people.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard they like the area there, so that's pretty epic.
Definitely.
Okay, so how did you buy it? What was the process?
All right. So the process, well, it was a bit strange, but let me take you through what normally happens. So first of all, of course, you have to think, okay, do I have the money to buy something else, or can I get a mortgage to buy something else? Getting a second mortgage is normally more difficult than the first one for the house you live in. So I had some money set aside, and I really feel like at this moment, having your money in the bank is not a good thing. So that was my first, I know why you're laughing right now. It's not a good thing. So that was my first step. Okay, I want to do something with my money. I've bought garage boxes in the past, and garage boxes are a great way to start getting a feel for real estate because they're relatively cheap.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, so the next step would be a holiday rental because I don't want to be the one having to manage a property. I don't want to get a phone call saying, hey, the lock isn't working or the window doesn't close properly or something. So I was really looking at two parks where everything is managed for you. So an apartment I wouldn't want to buy as an investment, but a holiday rental, yes. So I had the money, and then I have a standard real estate agent. And I told him, this is what I want to invest in. Do you have any tips for me? And he actually came with a park where he owns 3 houses on the park himself and said, major discount, let's go. So I went there first and I did check one of the houses. I just couldn't make a deal with the owners. And then a second one came up for sale and we bought it within a day.
Oh, okay. So the other one, did that sell eventually?
Yep, yeah, it did sell.
For a higher price?
Yeah, not that much. It was more the feeling. So I think part of buying real estate in general is also how do you feel about it, right?
Yeah.
So at first they countered my offer. Then, I wanted to think about it. Then I said, okay, let's do it. They said, no, we want more money now. So I sort of accepted their offer, but then they changed their mind. They wanted more money.
Okay.
Which still was a really good deal, but I felt like that's weird, right?
That's weird,
why would you? And then they all said, we're not really sure if we want to sell. So,
okay.
So that's why it didn't really work out.
Yeah. It's just, looking at an objective view, you could have bought it eventually in terms of being it worth it.
Yep.
But it
would have still been more than a 50% return on investment within a year if you would have bought it at that price. But that was because everything was at a discount.
Yeah. Okay. So that, but yeah, that's it all worked out.
It all worked out. Yeah.
So we actually need to look at the financing. How did it work? So you bought it for what price? How did you finance it? How did it work?
All right. So the funny thing is, my plan was I have cash. I should get rid of some cash. Then I called my accountant and he said, do not put any cash in it because money right now is so cheap. Why don't you get a full mortgage on it? Because the interest is so low and you can use the money to buy yet another piece of property, which is what I did. Well, I didn't buy another piece of property, but I did get it fully financed. So the asking price was 180,000 euros.
Yeah.
So it's like $220,000 for people.
Yeah.
In dollars.
Dollars and euros. I mean, it's most of the time when you say, okay, so we bought this for 100,000 or 180,000 euros, you could have bought it in the US for $180,000. For real estate, it's completely different, obviously, because of areas and stuff like that. But
right. So 180,000 euros, and there's also always a cost, right, when you're buying it. So first of all, in Holland, there's a tax you have to pay. So 2% of that, which now went to 8%, which is why I had to buy it in this year, in 2020. 2% actually goes to the government. Then I had a real estate agent, so you have to pay him. You have to get a mortgage, so there's cost with a mortgage, and you have to get a notary to get everything signed, and that's also cost.
How expensive are real estate agents?
About 2,500 euros in this case.
Yeah, okay. On a 180,000 property, that's still a decent amount.
Normally they get between 1% and 2% of the sale price. So they can make good money if they have expensive properties. So in total it was about 10,000 euros in cost. So my total number I had to pay was 190,000 euros, which I got fully financed by the bank. And the way I financed this, and this is a tip for anyone who already has a house. So I understand that most people here probably, aren't in that situation yet. I bought my house where I live in 2013. And since then, it has over doubled in price.
Oh, yeah.
In value. So what I did is I got a second mortgage on the house that I already owned and used that money to buy the holiday rental. And the reason why I do it is for two reasons. First of all, the mortgage on your house where you live is much cheaper when it comes to rent. Second of all, I now have this holiday rental, which is completely mortgage free. So I can go to the bank right now and say, hey, I have this house, which is worth, well, we won't reveal what it's worth right now, because that's sort of the funny part, which is worth this much money. I want to get a mortgage on that. And then I can use that money to buy a next house, which will be mortgage free.
Yeah.
And then I can go to the bank and say, hey, I have this house, which is mortgage free. And that's sort of how you can keep buying money, or basically buying money.
Buying money.
But you can keep buying real estate without spending a single euro of your own
And that
money.
is also part of the problem we're seeing here right now
yeah.
in the Netherlands with the housing.
Yeah, definitely.
The amount of houses and a lot of people buying it for investments and lots of people having no home to buy because the prices skyrocket or the availability is just not there, because lots of people that buy the property for investments, they also rent it out.
Yep.
So buying is just extremely hard right now.
It is.
But
Yeah.
I mean Bob right here is not it's not taking it to the next level yet. But on the other hand, I mean, there are people that buy for billions. They buy entire streets in the Netherlands, foreign people, and they just do that and they rent it out, and that's their investment.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing, I think, as for holiday rentals as investment is also the ethical part, because the houses aren't even allowed for permanent living. So even if someone would want to live there permanently, it's not allowed. So I'm not sort of withdrawing a house from the market from people who are looking for something to buy to live in, because it's simply not allowed. So I think the ethical part for me is important as well.
I mean, if you would have bought or would buy your second house, even that is still the ethical part. Is, I mean, that's not the big deal. That's not the big problem. It's not the people buying their second house. It's the people buying their 10th house or their second street.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's the big problem.
And it also depends on how you deal with your tenants. So I know, for example, because I have thought about buying a second house and then start living in a new house and start renting out the house I currently own and live in. So I spoke to my real estate agent. He said, well, if I were you, I would just put a family in your house because they take proper care of your house. But what you can do is you can also just find international students. Rather than have 3 people in your house or 4, put like 6 of them in your house. You make much more. Well, first of all, they're not going to treat your house well. And second of all, is that really, putting people in a room which is so small that just the bed fits in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel good doing that. So I think that is important. But let's actually look at the finance.
Yeah, let's look
a
at
bit
the finance.
more. So for everyone listening, we actually have a whole sheet with everything in here. Maybe good to explain how most of the houses work, and especially holiday rentals as an owner. So first of all, of course, you have you have taxes. Every property that you own, you will have to pay taxes over. And in this case, it's pretty cheap. It is 340 euros per year, which is not a lot.
That's actually not a lot. No,
because the government still values this house at 150,000 euros.
Oh,
yes.
Otherwise, you would have almost paid like
double.
At least double. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. After that, you have, of course, your mortgage cost. So I have 190,000 euro mortgage, which I'm repaying in 30 years. So I am paying 264 euros in interest every single month, and I'm repaying 406 euros. And I see that repaying as an investment, because I just repay what I owe to the bank.
Yeah.
So after 30 years, it is mine, and then so it's sort of saving.
Yeah, you're
right?
saving up. Yeah.
So the real costs are only basically the interest, and then you have park cost. So as a whole park, we have a community basically, and we all own everything together.
Yeah.
Including the ground. So of course you have to take care of the ground, of the trees, and of.
This happens a lot when it comes to community stuff, especially like apartments or like big buildings. You have to pay together for stuff. It depends on how obviously it's in the contract, but there's obviously cost in maintaining everything.
Yeah, we're also saving for if we need to paint the outside of every house, if the roofs need to be fixing.
Yes.
It's all part of what we pay. So we pay quite a lot right now, almost 600 euros every single month. And that is also why people got in trouble last year, because it was closed, they had their mortgage cost, and they had to pay the 600 euros a month. Ooh. That can go pretty fast.
So they're getting like missing out on 10K every single year in cost or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
At some point. Oh,
so that's sort of the issue. Another thing that happens here is because I don't want to do the renting out myself. So there's a very big organization which is taking care of the entire park, and they take a 20% commission. So for every 1,000 euros they get that they receive in rent, they get 200 euros. But if something breaks, they fix it. If something happens with the tenants, they make sure that the tenants actually pay for what they broke. So I don't have to do anything. And they do all the marketing, all the sales. They deliver the keys to the people. So it is worth it, if you ask me.
Okay, yeah. So that's the 20% commission you got right
That
here.
is the 20% commission.
Okay, so you got monthly cost, you got total cost. That's a lot of cost. I mean, we're
Definitely.
looking at a decent amount of money here, but
Yep.
profit.
Profit. Yeah. So
Or
the way, of
revenue,
course,
revenue.
revenue. Yeah, definitely. So the way that, of course, it works is in the first months in January, February. You're not going to make that much money.
No.
But the more towards summer and spring, especially when all the flower bulbs go out, the rent you're actually receiving will skyrocket. And we are getting way more rent than we expected.
You can actually see that here very well. You have the January for people who are listening. You got January 537, and you already owned it fully here. Or
Yeah,
is it part-
definitely.
Yeah, okay, so
100%.
And then it already doubled from $537 to or euros to 1,186 euros.
Yep.
And then you got March, which is very similar, 1,195 euros, and then you see it going up, and it's decent, and then to 4K, 4.2K. July, August, 5.3K
Yep. 5.3K
in revenue.
In revenue. So of course they take their 20% commission, which is 1,000 euros. So keep in mind they have like 80 houses on this one park alone.
They're doing well.
They're doing
we're
well.
not-
But
we're
then
not-
again, I would never be able to rent it out for 5K in 1 month.
20K
So
is a basically industry standard for a lot of stuff when it comes to
20%.
we make sure you're able to do this. So you can do all your stuff. You get 80%, we get 20%. That's very common for a lot
For a lot of
stuff.
things,
Yes.
yeah. So you definitely see that. September is going to go down. December is going to be really good, probably again, of course.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So far in the first 8 months, it has generated over 20,000 euros in rent.
And that is very decent.
That's very decent. That is already over 10% before all the cost, of course, return
Yeah.
on investment, because I bought it for 180 with the cost 190,000 and over 20,000 already in rent.
Exactly.
So that's definitely not bad. So if we look, so of course we have to pay the commission.
Yeah, on this channel, we're always about revenue and profit. We're not
yes.
about revenue and say we made 20, or Bob in this case made 20K this year, only
Yeah.
in a few months. You can do this too. Get rich, buy my course. So no.
Definitely not.
We're more about like the real price and the real revenue, real profit. So
Exactly. So 20,000, let's say 20,000 so far in revenue.
yes.
Out of that, of course, then 4,000 is what we have to pay to the organization to manage it. Every single month, we had about 600 euros in cost as well. So
You can see that here in January. Very nice.
Oh, yeah,
January you had 537 euros and 50 cents in revenue.
Yep.
But you still you had to pay commission to
Yep.
the park, 107 euros
Yep.
and 50 cents. And then you had the 160 euros in loss, basically, because
after
of the
paying the park cost, yes.
because of the normal cost you
Yeah.
have every single month.
And after that, I had to pay my interest on my mortgage and had to do the repayment. So in total, I had to almost add, over 800, so 830 euros out of my own pocket to be able to pay for the house.
Exactly. So those are not exactly losses, because in these costs you also have repaying
Exactly.
the per month, but that
Yeah.
is out of pocket. That's what you need to pay. So you need to keep in mind that he bought something as an investment.
Yep.
But hey, this is you're looking at your bank account and you need to pay almost like $1,000 extra per month now
Yep.
out of your own pocket.
Definitely. And that happened for the first 3 months. So that's always very important when you buy something. Look at the cash flow, because it's very easy to look at the total picture and think, at the end of the year, I've made 10K, for example. But if you have to, add money out of your own pocket for the first 4 or 5 months, you have to make sure you actually have that money.
Yeah, if you're struggling to get that money actually on the table,
Exactly.
it's
not
gonna be
a good
risky.
thing.
It's going to be risky. You
Yeah.
can actually lose a lot of money there.
But yeah, so after the first 3 months, so you can see I had to pay about 1.5K in total out of my own pocket to make sure that, and yes, part of that was saving up because I was repaying. After that, I started actually getting more money than it was costing me. So we went from 500 to 1,200 to a little dip, but all the way up to, almost 3,000 euros last month that I just, got extra into my pocket.
Yeah,
again.
profit.
That was the actual profit.
So that is basically profit, but you still
Yeah.
need to pay taxes.
There's still
obviously.
taxes,
But
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's not super highly taxed, but let's not get into the Dutch tax system, because
No,
it's
that's-
different in every country. Some will be taxed. So the months afterward, I don't know how much we're actually getting yet. So that's something that if you're watching on YouTube, you will see in the sheet where basically I put in 0. So if I would get no more rent the entire year,
You'd lose 5,047 euros.
well, yes, but if you look at the total cost, I would still have made a 1,000 euro profit over the entire
Exactly.
year. So even if
Exactly.
no one visits the park anymore, which, well, I
highly doubt.
I highly doubt
doubt.
it. It was still a good investment. And that is basically because I was able to afford it or to buy it at such a discount.
Yes.
And that's why the return on investment this year will be pretty amazing. So if we look at the sheet and it says return on investment before mortgage cost this year. So I've only done the revenue till this month. We'd already be at 6% return on investment before paying the mortgage,
Yes.
which is, I would say, pretty
It
good.
was really good. Yeah.
really
For
good.
like the 8 months that we're in, 9
Yeah.
months. 9 months. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I only have the numbers for the first
Yeah.
8 months, so I don't even know the
Yeah.
9th month. And after paying the mortgage, this is only the interest, because I think the repayment is, it's not cost.
That is not cost. No.
No. So then we're already at 4.76%. And honestly, below that, I have my what I expect for next year is 9% return on investment before the interest cost and over 7% return.
And you're going over that this year.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
And that's just with the return on investment, with the amount of money that you make from people staying in your
Exactly.
like your holiday rental, right? Because if we're going to talk about something else, which is the worth increase of the property, do we want to talk about that?
Sure.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So what I'm going to say now is not realistic. Do not expect this return
this at
if
all.
you buy something. I got very, very lucky. And that's also why my real estate agent knew this. And that's why he really called me, you buy this now.
As an even bigger disclaimer, if you probably want to invest in something like this, you should probably even look at it from the way you did with the return on investment.
Yeah.
And then keep in mind the worth of the property will stay the same or increase a little bit. And then if it's a good investment,
Exactly.
all the increase in worth is all just a nice add-on to your return on investment. And in your case, it is quite significant.
So it's pretty funny. In February, I got a call from my real estate agent. He said, hey, just for you to know, there's one just sold for 240,000 euros, which means 50,000 euros higher, 60,000 euros higher, which is 1/3 after 2 months, which is crazy, but everything was back open. And also, to be a bit technical, a new company started renting it out. So they changed company and they started generating much more revenue than the old company, actually. So that was also like pretty lucky.
When did that happen? In
January.
Oh, okay.
So the day I bought it, basically the day after I bought it, they changed it, which is also why January was this bad, because they say we couldn't promote it prior to owning it. So January was actually still pretty bad, but still the revenue or the value was already increasing. Right now, there's one for sale. And it is the same house, which I have, exactly the same house, and they are asking 299,000 euros. So it went from 180,000 to, let's say, 300,000 in 9 months.
In 9 months.
Yes.
Very unrealistic.
Very unrealistic.
But very crazy and a good story.
Yeah, so, and here comes sort of the funny part, and maybe that's a good way to sort of round it off. So my real estate agent said, you could sell it today for 300,000 euros. Do you want to do that? And he said, I wouldn't if I were you. And there's 2 reasons. First of all, if I will actually be making, 10,000 euros in profit every single year, plus repaying 8,000 euros in my mortgage, so making basically 18K a year, that's still, even on 300,000, a really good return on investment. So there's no reason to sell it. The second thing is, what would you do with your money? And that might sound very arrogant or something else.
No,
but
yeah.
There's something, and they call this in the investment world TINA, which means there is no alternative. So right now, the stock prices are pretty high. Yes, I'm also into stocks, but I wouldn't want to put an additional 200K into stocks right now. I think it's too high. You could do crypto, but crypto is very volatile. And I think since I want this for my pension, I want it to be relatively safe. So, and keeping it on the bank, we have about a 4% inflation, and you have to pay interest to have your money in the bank. So you lose 5% a year, basically, right now.
That's a great option.
It's a great option. So, and that's also why we were laughing. And well, you're currently looking into some things to get rid of a bit of cash on the bank as well.
Yeah.
So there's no really an alternative. So what would I do? The only other thing I could do is buy another piece of property, but then I pay 8% in tax. I pay all the costs. So I lose 3 years in return just because I sell and I buy something new. So there's no reason for me to sell at this moment.
And you're doing just fine, and you haven't even reaped all the benefits, sort of, in terms of. Let's look at expected revenue 2020. If we look at that, you got a total amount of revenue 27,000, which is if I look at the amount of revenue. It is very realistic. It could definitely be higher, but I would say, I mean, there's also a few percent that it's going to be lower because who knows what happens to the world.
Exactly.
So that's very, very realistic. Commission is 20%. And then you got the park costs. And with that, you have a total amount of revenue or a profit.
Profit of 9,000, almost 9,500 euros, plus, of course, repaying every single month.
Plus
that's basically
the increase of the property revenue, which is like we said, if you don't count it, then like you said, you're just making money by having this property right now.
Exactly, and of course, it's not going to go up another 60% next year.
No,
this was the correction from it going down, the discount, plus an amazing rent revenue this year. As you say, we don't know what's happening next year. Was the rent extra high because people were not allowed to go abroad, so they needed to get a house in Holland? Maybe. But then again, there were no people from other countries going there, which is normally the case. So it is very difficult to
actually expect what happens in revenue terms for 2022.
Yeah. And if you compare to other years, it's higher than other years, but it's also a new organization doing it, which already said that they were going to get it. So it's so difficult to really say something. That's why I was a bit conservative about next year.
Yes. So with all these angles and all these different types of perspectives, is this worth it? First, simple answer for the regular dude, girl out there, no, because, well, first of all, you need to sort of cough off like 180K, or you do it in a way that Bob did, but then you still need to have a second mortgage on your house. Sounds very, complicated, but is this worth it for the investor or sort of entrepreneur that wants to build up their own pension in the future?
Well, definitely, yes. And I think real estate is a very good way to do it. It is pretty difficult right now to find good deals. Right now, the price of houses are insanely high. And I know it's not just here, it's almost in every country. But there's always deals to be found. And I think a good tip is find someone who's really knowledgeable, so a real estate agent that you really, really trust. Because, I've bought several things just because he called me, I have a good deal for you. And that is so important. And also sometimes I thought I found a great deal. I sent it to him and he said, well, look at this area, look at these things. It's not going to increase in value. It's not a good investment. And I thought it looked amazing. So yes, he charges 2,500, to help me buy this, but that's definitely worth it. And normally they can even get the price down as well, because they know what, this is the asking price, but what is really realistic or what should you be offering?
I recently heard something that was about that a real estate agent in the Netherlands, when they get you to pay more than the initial price that they're asking for, they get a percentage of the over. And so that's a bit of. So that sounds like they're working against you.
Yeah, that's why I think you should find someone you really trust.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And the good thing is the father of a friend of mine, which is also why I know he has the best interest. Plus, maybe that's another good thing. If you are looking to buy things as an investment, find a real estate agent that has properties himself as an investment, because he knows there's a lot of people who real estate agents that can help you. Yeah, of course, as an investment, but they've never invested in real estate themselves.
Ooh,
and then, it's the same as buying a course from someone like Stan. He does calisthenics himself. There's also people offering courses who don't do what they teach. So the quality is going to be less. Same with real estate agent. Yeah. I think that's super important.
It would be the same in my terms to look at YouTube, for example, and then you would get advice from someone to teach you about YouTube and the algorithm and everything.
Doesn't have a channel.
That doesn't have a YouTube channel.
Yep.
So that's going to be for me a no-go. Is the good investment? Definitely, if it's at the right time, the right place, and if it's for you and it sounds interesting. Yep. Here you got all the information from someone who just bought it, just end last year, and this is our take on it.
Definitely. And one last final thing. Well, two last final things. First of all, this is not advice. We are not financial advisors.
Definitely not.
This is just sharing what I have done and what I would. What my experience is. And second of all, never ever invest with money that you cannot miss. So the worst thing that can happen, and that is why I was able to buy this house, is you buy something as an investment, then something goes wrong and you have to sell it. But you have to sell it at the worst possible time because, it went up 60%. So make sure that whether it's in stocks, whether it's in crypto, whether it's in real estate, whatever you invest in, only with money that you can miss over a long period of time, so you don't have to sell it at a very unfortunate time.
Exactly. That's one of the best pieces of advice you can get. The best piece of not advice that you can get from a YouTube channel. Here you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was insightful and helpful. We'll see you in the next episode. Baba booey. Ah.